Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast, we talk about parenting issues, but once a week, Terry and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics, because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change.
Yes.
This week, we are continuing our watch of the first season of Veronica Mars, along with the Veronica Mars Investigations podcast. And first up today is Season 1, Episode 20, M.A.D., which stands for Mutually Assured Destruction. And this was very uncomfortable and icky from start to finish, this episode.
Yes. Not a pleasant episode, and also one that it's hard for me to focus on after watching the plotapalooza that was A Trip to the Dentist. So,
the following one, yes.
Do we have to go back and talk about this one?
We will dispense with this quickly. It was really, the person we've never seen before was a very sweet girl named Carmen who had a terrible boyfriend named Tad who was an 09er.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if we've seen him before. Maybe we have. Who knows? I can't keep track of those
We just hope
people.
we never see him again.
Yeah. I cannot at all keep track of the 09ers. Sorry.
No.
So he has this incriminating video, and he is basically blackmailing her into not breaking up with him because he has this video. And she comes to Veronica to say, like, I need you to get his phone, which has the video on it, which I immediately was like, well, that's not going to do any good.
Right.
Which is, in fact, what happened. They got the phone through this very elaborate scheme that involved several burner phones. But of course, he had already saved a copy elsewhere. So there was no point in that whole thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then they went through some elaborate effort to make an incriminating and embarrassing video about him in ways that make us in 2020 cringe.
Yes.
But it seems to me that all they really had to do was tell the Naval Academy, hey, this dude tried to blackmail his girlfriend into staying with him by taking and releasing to the public a video of her clearly intoxicated doing embarrassing things. Right. That alone is character questioning, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Plant a bug, get him threatening her, and then you don't have to do all the other crap. But that would not fill an entire hour of television, so... and would take very little of Veronica's time. So there has to be more. Yeah, I think the less said about that whole plot, the better. The entire usefulness of that plot was to get Veronica thinking that this girl had been drugged and it was the same party she was at. So, it brought that.
Start thinking again about that event, which she had obviously blocked from her memory.
Audience, remember that thing, that traumatic, horrible thing from episode 1 that we've sort of not been mentioning ever since?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
It's back.
Yeah, so that was, and that she finds out when, Weevil is just the hand of God in this town, isn't he? You step out of line and tape you to the flagpole.
Yes.
And Wallace certainly did not deserve any such fate, but Tad... Yeah,
he deserved it.
He absolutely deserved it. And I'm glad that Veronica did not cut him down. But anyway, he lets Veronica know that the person who supplied those drugs was, dun dun dun, Logan. With whom she has been all kissy all episode.
Yes.
And are we supposed to, ship Veronica and Logan? Are they supposed to be a tragic couple that we're supposed to feel are meant to be in some way? Because I don't.
Mm-hmm. I think you are supposed to feel that.
They kind of creep me out. I have certainly gained huge amounts of sympathy for Logan since the beginning of this show when he was just flat out terrible.
Right.
And, I admire the performance Jason Dohring has been doing it and how much he's brought out all the layers of this guy. But the layer that is goofy, in love, sweet, protective guy, I do not like. I don't trust. It doesn't seem right. It seems like the somebody got the idea that this should be and is trying to force it on us. And it goes so against everything. And I don't buy it. I don't buy it from either of them. I don't buy Veronica dropping her guard so thoroughly, and then putting it back up and then dropping it again. But it seems weird. It seems weird to you too, right? I wonder if it's just something, if we had been watching this in real time the first time it aired and there was, in following message boards about it, if there would have been a great wave of, Veronica and Logan, and we would have just ridden on it. But watching it here in the cold light of being a 60-year-old person, I'm like, kids, this isn't going to work out. I think this is a bad idea. Both of you have a lot on your plate. You have a lot of trauma, both of you. Perhaps you should go and work on yourselves and then maybe later. But now, no, this is a bad idea.
Really bad time.
Yes, Grandma Morrow wants them to slow down.
Yes.
So, Keith, best dad in the world, Keith. He's all super eager to catch Duncan and get that money to send Veronica to school. Yay, good, Keith, except you know what? You don't want to sit down with your daughter and say, hey, honey, this was your boyfriend. How are you feeling about this? I understand. I overheard Mrs. Kane say that you talked to Duncan right before he left, and she said some other things. We should talk about that. Nope. Yippee! Gonna make a bounty on finding your runaway boyfriend, honey. What the heck?
Won't that be great?
What the heck? I don't get it, other than just we have to prolong this plot. And if they actually had a conversation, that would ruin our plans. So,
yeah, well, that's been a theme.
Come on, Keith.
Has it not?
Really? I don't like the fact that so many people know what happened to Veronica at that party and Keith presumably does not. That seems like the sort of thing somebody could spring on him at some point in a very tragic way that would just break him. Right. So, goodness, people, sit down, have a conversation. Plus which, because I will cling to my Mr. Eccles theory right up until the point where the show slaps me in the face and says, you idiot, it's not that. Him being all friendly and sweet with Veronica and driving her in the car made me feel like, get out of the car, Veronica.
Exactly.
He killed Logan's last girlfriend.
Yep.
Run.
I thought so too.
There was a creepy undercurrent of that, right?
Yes, there was. And then when we get to the next episode, we can talk about how
Yes.
that may...
I see evidence for my theory.
Yes, exactly.
My doomed theory. But, so this episode was just... Yeah. Plus, that was the episode in which creepy Weedman pulled in Wallace's mother and said she had to stop seeing Keith and that Wallace had bugged a plant and put it in or brought in a bugged plant.
Right.
And so... we see rough times again for the otherwise adorable new couple.
That's right.
I am perfectly willing to ship them. That's fine. They can be as kissy face as they want. Keith and Alicia can, make out in somebody's pool house. I'm absolutely okay with it. But Logan and Veronica, not so much. Cut that out.
Yeah. No thanks.
So go each see individual therapists for quite some time.
For a long, long time, please.
Exactly. Nothing good can come of this now, children.
Yeah. Our podcast is sponsored today by Best Fiends, the puzzle app that we've all been playing during every video conference call we're on, but quietly.
I don't think I've ever played it with the sound on. I'm sure the music and noises would be enjoyable and satisfying, but I prefer discretion.
Well, and up until now, I didn't even know what those diamonds were for. I just learned that you can buy keys with them and possibly get yourself extra time to keep the fun going and playing during those meetings.
Cool.
I always need keys and diamonds so that I can get more energy.
Oh, I would love to get more energy. Does that work outside the app too? Does it carry over into my life? How do I arrange that?
Well, personally, I'd like the ability to blast anything that annoys me.
That would be awesome.
Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must-play.
Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
That's friends without the R. Best fiends.
Shall we move on to the next episode in which all sorts of nothing good comes of every part of everything we've been watching this entire season?
Yes. So in this episode, which is called A Trip to the Dentist, and we don't find out why until the last
that was an awfully long way to go for that. Yeah. Honestly.
They really could have done so many other things with that. But anyway, this is basically where the case of the week is Veronica trying to figure out what the heck happened to her at Shelly's party. She already knows that she had been assaulted in some way and that she had been drugged, but this is the umpteen flashbacks from umpteen different people.
Right.
That she, buttonholes and forces to talk. And the thing is, how does she know that she can believe any of these people?
Right.
Except for maybe Meg.
Yeah.
And Meg is being very evasive because she feels guilty because she didn't stop whatever happened. She was talked out of it.
And she also thinks Veronica was just deliberately drunk and not, drugged. I don't think she knew Veronica was drugged. I think she would have acted differently. But yeah, I guess she just takes all the different pieces and puts them together, because as I didn't really notice it quite so much, but they were mentioning on the Veronica Mars Investigations podcast that different people told the story in a way that made them look less terrible. I mean, they still looked terrible, but they told it in a way that kind of exonerated them a little bit. And so each of them is probably wrong, but you put enough together and I guess you take the overlapping parts and you get
and
something that's really not even in the end right until she finally gets that last piece of who it was. But
and sort of each conversation leads her to the next person. So and they, I guess, sort of confirm what she already knows and so on and so on,
and then add their own little piece. I mean, I can respect that whole thing from a storytelling point of view and from a Veronica being a detective point of view as very well done. But sitting there on my couch watching this, it's like, hey, tenderhearted moms in our audience, you thought it was bad that time in episode 1 where we showed a little bit of this party? We're going to show it to you a whole bunch of times.
over and over
you
again.
See this young woman be violated in all sorts of ways again and again and again. Yay!
And just constantly people choosing not to help her.
Yes.
Yes, they're dumb kids, but still.
Right. Ugh. It does not speak well of Neptune and of the parenting that has gone on there previously. It was awful. It was extremely difficult to watch. And while I knew it was like a Band-Aid that had to be ripped off, I knew it had to happen, we had to go through all this stuff, I still would have liked to have been able to sneak off for snacks in the kitchen, which I totally would have done had I not been watching this podcast. I'd have told my husband, let it run. I'm just going to run to the bathroom. That's okay. You can just let it go.
Yeah.
So then, oh my goodness. So she finds out that really she got drugged through a series of mishaps.
Right.
Nobody actually deliberately drugged Veronica to do her harm. She just intercepted a cup that was drugged to do another woman harm. So, who we, certainly would like to see that harm visited on way more than Veronica, because she's a miserable. Was it Madison?
Yes.
She's not a nice girl. But still, nobody should have their drink drugged. But so it was just sort of by happenstance and by malice and a trip to the dentist, which means Madison spitting in her drink and handing it to Veronica, that she was drugged. But then, dun dun dun, when they find out who actually was in bed with her and why. I mean, also we find out later, also drugged, because why not?
It was Duncan, who, by the way, has been found and retrieved and brought home.
Yes.
We forgot to say.
At the very beginning, delightfully, by Keith Morris.
But, so, here's my question. When she goes and confronts him about it,
right,
he has this outburst where he says, because you're my sister! And she's upset, but, not really. I mean, she doesn't is it because she already kind of knew that or suspected that or had heard that?
I think it's because she already sort of suspected that, and she kind of figured that was the reason he broke up with her, and she kind of figured that was, I think, but yes, there is the issue that only we know that Veronica knows this, and yet many people have said it in front of her as though they think she knows. Certainly Celeste Kane seemed to think she knew. Duncan certainly doesn't seem to work his way up to saying this thing to Veronica that he doesn't think she knows.
I know.
What the heck? And does he wonder why she doesn't say, what
in the world are you talking about? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, she runs off in tears, but that's not necessarily the reaction you would expect if the person didn't know it.
That's what I mean.
It's just all sorts of weird.
Reveal was very weird.
Yeah.
Because then she goes and talks to Wallace, and then she's like, okay, I feel better, which I'm glad that Wallace has that ability. But, this was a huge situation. And they talked a lot about this on the podcast, that, like, you can't go for 20 episodes talking about how she was assaulted and then all of a sudden, like, well, since it was Duncan, it was fine.
It was her brother. It's all good. Personally, I would have given up 5 or 6 of the flashbacks to hear that conversation between Veronica and Wallace, where she says, let me tell you a story. And then she just recounts all the Lily Kane murder case elements of this season, including the party. And we watch his head explode.
And that would have been useful just for, a summary for all of us as to where we stand at this moment.
It would have been. It's so unsatisfying to get to come in on the, wow, that was quite a story part of it.
And for her to then be like, well, I feel better. See ya. I think I'll go make out with Logan now.
And then Logan confesses to having drugged Duncan, and she's like,
well, okay, he's a big boy. Whatever. No, not okay.
Yeah, she's sort of not reacting to the brother part of it, so maybe she still is in some denial on that. And Keith hasn't gotten his test back, so.
Right.
You have to wait till next week for that.
But guess who is back? Leanne Mars.
Yes, right at the end. I knew she was going to be there because I saw her name in the credits.
Well, presumably when Veronica checked her into rehab, it was for a specific length of time. It was a 30-day program, or it was a 6-week program, or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And so she knew that the time was approaching.
Unless she's left early. Which is
it's not impossible.
She just went in there and said, you know what? We need you to keep her here till right before the last episode of the season, okay? So probably it was like 6 weeks in watching things on a TV show time. But before that, we have the whole many shenanigans at the Eccles house, from Papa Eccles first trying to make dinner and then, theoretically going to feed Logan something that would kill him. I'm sure there was just an oversight. And then throwing the most inappropriate party possible, which then outed Logan and Veronica as a couple, much to everybody's chagrin and Duncan's mania. Duncan took the whole thing out on his car. So, doesn't want to be brothers-in-law with Logan, apparently. Then, despite all the trauma and all the stuff we've seen go on, Logan and Veronica go to the pool house for sexy times, because why not?
Of course.
It's not like you're just, finding out all the details of this extremely traumatic experience you had. And, it's not until Logan should know never to leave the room. Man, this has happened before.
And also, why does Veronica want to drink something? Like, this whole experience,
I know.
This whole episode has been about the horrible consequences of drugs and alcohol.
Have we learned nothing through 25 flashbacks? Come on, girl. Oh, I have concerns. I mean, Alicia may be right to question Pete's parenting, honestly, because he should be on top of this. But anyway, she then notices that, in this pool house love shack, there is a camera in the overhead fan, which leads to some equipment, which makes it clear that somebody is taping activities that go on there for whatever purpose. Now, assuming that Logan is not the only one who uses it for that purpose, my theory that Logan's dad perhaps had a little something with Logan's girlfriend on the side, and that precipitated her murder.
And that there may
see
be
evidence.
Video evidence somewhere.
Check those videos, because why else would this be part of the plot?
And but also, if there is evidence, he is really quite stupid.
That's true. But you know what? Yeah, I believe he is.
He's pretty dumb.
I think we have seen evidence that Aaron Eccles is violent. We have seen evidence that he is pretty much willing to have sex with whatever moves past him and catches his eye. We've seen that he's a terrible parent and not a nice guy. We have never seen any evidence that he's smart or even not dumb. True. I think we have seen evidence to the contrary. So I'm hoping. I got my fingers crossed. I'm feeling good about my theory. I'm sure it will turn out to be wrong, but I'm liking it right now because Logan would have to be even stupider than his dad to bring his girlfriend, the private detective who bugs people, into a room that he knows has a very obvious camera in the overhead fan and then leave her alone there. So I don't think he's that dumb.
I hope not.
He's made some pretty stupid moves, but I don't think he's that dumb. MVP of these 2 episodes totally has to be Weevil. He takes care of the bully. He picks Veronica up whenever she needs it.
Gets in between her and whoever's. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Maybe she should date that dude.
Yeah, well, she's good at being friends with the good guys.
I think she's, given the talent pool in Neptune, I think that I think Weevil's floating on top there, girl.
Well, next week we will find out how this season ends. We will just watch the last episode of this season. It's called Leave It to Beaver.
I expect all these ends to be tied up next week. I expect the story to be coherent.
Well, we will see what happens. And that'll be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Bye, Terry.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.